Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. And we date stamp this as always. It's year 3, blog 40, or in legacy numbers, blog 144, and it's dated 24th of November 2024. And I usually start off just with a little bit of a ramble. Weather is on everybody's minds. I'm looking out the window now and the wind is blowing like mad. But the weather is also mentioned in the news, so I won't talk about that too much. And then just a general thing about myself. Well, I'm pretty chipper. Nothing really to talk about. It's been an eventful week. Some good, some bad. But the bad, although it felt really bad at the time, turned out to be okay. Nothing wrong. Nothing exceptional to talk about. So we'll get the news out the way, shall we? And we always start off with the news in the war. I've written down that the UK warns of hidden cyber attacks as Putin hails his unstoppable hypersonic missiles. He stated he would continue to use and this is the name of it, the Oreshink missile used to strike Ukraine on Thursday, as it is a direct response to Ukraine's forces striking Russia with US and British long-range missiles. Putin warned there is no countermeasure to our missile. UK ministers also warned of a hidden cyber war that Putin will use to destabilize NATO. Yeah, it's heating up, isn't it? Probably an expectation that this would happen. No idea of the future. We all know what we want. We just want this war to end. We want a good result. We know that Russia started this. They wanted their land back. There was an agreement that wouldn't happen. So they're in the wrong. They're getting more and more forces from further east. They're playing dirty. We know this. They're using grey areas to say why they can do things. We know Putin is running scared. He won't leave his country because he knows he'll get arrested. So yeah. Just want the war to end, please. Lots of news sort of in the UK. Nothing with it really good. In the UK, here we go. Snow and ice hit England this week, and now we are being hit by Storm Bert, causing wind damage and flooding. Yeah, when you have snow, it melts. That causes dampness in the ground. You then get a storm Bert that causes wind and rain. That rain can't drain. It then floods, and we're not built towards it. Why we're not is all down to the government's money putting it into areas that would help with flooding. We know that there are people in Norway and that can handle all of this. They've done it for years. We just don't put enough money or effort into this. Absolutely atrocious, really. Then there is the farmers that are continuing to rally against the new tax. You've probably seen this. It's all to do with a new tax system in regards to farmers that have got where their farms are worth a certain amount of money. They're saying that it's bad because not only is this tax, it's discriminative, but also it doesn't aid with future generation of farmers. I totally agree with the total future of farmers. They've never had it good. It's always been bad, and we need to put more effort into our homegrown farming rather than keep importing. What else have I put here? Boots have received a record amount of complaints over their new Christmas ad. I'll be talking about that probably a little bit later on because I've been watching all of this on YouTube. It is an atrocious advert if you haven't seen it already. It's all about Mrs. Claus. It's all about all of the workforce being women. It's all about a fat man getting into his sleigh at the end. The only man in it, meaning men are all lazy and etc. etc. It's totally woke. It's bloody awful. But we'll talk about that later on. And the last thing is, although this doesn't mean too much to me, he was in my childhood. John Prescott, the MP for Labour, has died at the age of 86 following a bout of Alzheimer's. He's known for his 2 Jags. Yeah, he had 2 Jags. And an incident where eggs were thrown at him. But he was quintessential to Tony Blair's New Labour at the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. It's always sad to hear about any death. Obviously there is a bad side to John Prescott as well as a good one. But no matter what, the man is well known, did a lot of work for Labour, and it's always sad to hear of a death. And that's the end of the news, really. That's all I've got written down. There's a lot more going on, obviously, with court cases, deaths, all sorts of stuff. It's all bad, sad news. I wish there was some good, but I don't think things are going to get any better, especially when it comes to heating, fuel prices, winter coming along and cold, and people having to decide whether they should eat or stay warm. All of that sort of stuff is going to happen. See the blogs from last year, same thing. And then we turn to me. Well, it's been an eventful week. So starting off with Monday, it was my first day to go to physio. So I made a quick call just to make sure I got the right time. Yes, it was 1 o'clock. It was for a couple of hours. So I walked along, spoke to some other people that had been going for a couple of weeks, all with all different backgrounds on what they were there for, all mostly around heart. And we walked in and I had to have my blood pressure checked. It was quite high at the time. Probably more to do with anxiety of what we're expecting to do. But I think it was like 150 something over 105, something like that. We did a second reading and it was 141 over 97, so it was coming down. We then sat down and did some warm-up exercises. They all involved just stamping your feet, tapping your feet, moving your legs left and right, that sort of stuff. They put some music on. I found that amusing. It was like an 80s mixtape. I was continually going on saying, bloody hell, 9 to 5. Jesus Christ, what tape's this? So, of course, because I mentioned that every time a new track came on, they said, who did this one then? They all pointed at me. But anyway, after the warm-up exercises, we went on to the main machines. I went onto a bike for 10 minutes. My heart rate didn't go above 102. I did, I think 1 and a bit kilometers. So just over a mile, I think it was. I got the wattage up to 76 kilowatts or something like that. I kept it at a steady rate. Came off of that. We then sat down and did some banding exercises where you have this sort of elastic band and you have to sort of like stretch it. So we were doing things where basically your hands are above your heart level, you know. And then we went on any machine we wanted to. They chose the treadmill for me. I said I had a treadmill at home. Went on that for 10 minutes. Again, my heart rate didn't go above 109. I was doing 18-minute mile, so slightly faster than my walking, where I've already said that since my heart attack I haven't gone really above a 20-minute mile, so quite slow. I used to do just around about a 15-minute mile, so I could do 4 miles in an hour. I do 3 and a bit now, based on pace. Then we sat down, did some weights, and then it was the end. That was an hour and 40 minutes. Had to do my blood pressure readings at the end, and my blood pressure readings were 137/87. By the way, if anybody wants to know, the optimal, what we're aiming for, is 120/80. So when you consider 130 something over 87, I wasn't far off it, and it proved that after cool down and after doing exercises, my blood pressure was returning to normal. Also, I wasn't so intimidated by the blood pressure machine, and they came away saying that they were very happy with the cool down after doing exercises. They asked me whether I had any pain in my chest, which I didn't, and I walked to Sainsbury's from there to get some bread, and then walked home and relaxed. The evening was a little bit rougher. I had some back spasms. That's possibly due to the stretching. I've had that all week, but that might not be because of the physiotherapy, and I'll talk about that in a bit, because Tuesday came along and it was a rest day, really. I did do a walk, 1.5 miles, even though I did the physio on Monday. I wanted to push myself, and I prepped my car for taking it down to the garage on Wednesday. So I phoned up to make sure that everything was all ready for me to bring it down. They said it was, and I had an okayish night's sleep. And on Wednesday, I woke up very early, like I always do. I'm waking up at the moment around about 6 o'clock in the morning. I usually get up, though, after about 7 o'clock, staying in bed for an hour just to see if I can get more sleep, but generally I can't. I'm awake. It's as simple as that. And I got my MOT sort of like car booklet all together with all my receipts in, took the car down and waited. So what we have to remember on Tuesday is it snowed, and Wednesday was all bloody cold. It snowed a little bit when I was taking the car down, but it was more like God's dandruff, if you see what I mean. Very light, no settling of stuff. I walked into the garage about 7:45, even though they don't open till 8 o'clock, handed over the keys, and I said, how long? And they said, about 3 hours. The job I was having done was a clutch fluid drain and replace, and a servo changed, which is well known to cause the pedal to stick. And I asked for a quote on the coolant, because I knew full well that the job that they were doing was going to be £180. I had that money already, from going to Sainsbury's and going to the cash point machine on Tuesday. So I walked away, set my watch to walk because I was going to do some walking, walked past Quick Fit garage, and I basically put my left foot, which is very flat-footed, after all the not being really shown how to walk properly after my arthritis of the knee and the sciatica, and I slipped. My left foot went forward. I landed on my right knee. I managed to stand up by dragging my left foot forward, towards me after moving it away from the ice, and got myself up. And there was some posts outside Quick Fit, and I just touched my knee, and it was very tender, but I was able to walk. So I did some walking, went round the town's precinct, up some streets. All the shops are shut, so nothing to go there. I got to 9:15, and I thought I'd get a coffee at Neuro, Cafe Neuro. Just because there was a queue, I thought I'll go and use their toilets. So I went to the toilets and just looked at my knee. I had to pull my trousers down, look at my knee, and it was a huge mess. I mean, it was hard like it had a tumor or something, that type of pushing. And I thought, wow, that's bad. And I've got another couple of hours before my garage. I'll have a coffee and make a decision. So I sat down with a mocha, decided to have a mocha to cheer myself up. Looked up, swelling on the knee after a fall. It talked about the fact that there are many areas that you could have landed on. You could cause ligament damage and tendon damage and all sorts of stuff. And it basically said put a cold, what was it, frozen peas round it, and check it every couple of hours. It may go down. Otherwise, seek advice. Now, I'm not going to sit in this place for 2 hours, and walking might be bad. So I walked to the taxi rank, and I said, "Can you take me to A&E?" I thought in 2 hours A&E might be able to see me. So I paid the £5 to take me from the taxi rank to the hospital. Registered myself in, told them about my heart condition, all of that sort of stuff. And about an hour and 20 minutes later, after looking at the news, which was not on volume wise, but you could read the text, so it was boring as hell, I went to see a doctor. Basically I showed him my knee. He pressed it. Parts of it were tender. He said, "I think we ought to have an x-ray." I said, "How long will that take?" And he said, "Oh, I should think you'll be there in about 5 minutes." I went, "Oh, that's good." So I went back to the waiting room. It was 10 minutes, but not going to quibble over that. Went in there, and I was in there for 20 minutes. They couldn't get a good picture, but they managed to sort it out in the end. Sat back down in the waiting room, and I was there for about another 15 minutes. And he came out and he said, "All good. No, nothing broken, nothing untowards. You need a cold compress." He gave me this bag full of crystals. Huge bag it was. No thin ones or anything like this. It was huge. And he said, "All you got to do is twist it, put it against your knee, and check it every couple of hours." And I said, "Well, have you got any bandages for me to wrap it around?" He went, "No, we haven't. We've only got just a cold compress to give you." I went, "Okay." And I knew I had to go and get my car, so I phoned up a taxi. That turned up after 10 minutes, and it took me back down to the taxi rank. I thought that I'd best to drop me off there. I then went to Superdrug to get some bandages. So I bought some gauze, wraparound gauze type bandage. That was about £2.60. And then I thought to myself, "Oh, I need tape, don't I, to keep it attached?" So I bought some of this fabric tape stuff that's on a reel. That was another couple of quid. And it was enough to put it in my pocket. And by this point, it was about 20 past 11. So I walked steadily towards the garage. And the guy explained to me, that's the owner, who I know very well. His name's Pete. He said, although we drained it, although the servo's been changed, it hasn't fixed the problem. You need what they call a master cylinder head for the clutch. I have them in stock, but it is quite pricey. And the new price is this. Now, it was higher because obviously the master cylinder head also has a servo in it, so it took the other one off, and this one's already got it on it. And I asked him, "Well, it's pretty cold out there. Could you do me a deal with coolant? Because my coolant hasn't been changed in 3 years, and it's been pretty bloody cold this morning." I didn't tell him that I'd slipped in the ice or anything like that. And he said, "Yes." I said, "How long would it take then to put the master cylinder head on and do the coolant?" He said, "An hour." And I said, "So it'll be ready for just after 12. And he went, "Yes." I asked him how much extra it was. Now, remembering the original price was £180, The full price with all of this was $280. The coolant job itself is a 60 quid job. So knowing that the part is more expensive, knowing it's all about labour, the extra £100 sounded about right. I wasn't going to quibble. I said, can you do that then? And I walked back into town. Now, the first thing I did when I went into town was get the extra £100 out that I needed. And then I just went into Tesco, one of these little mini Tesco Mart things that you get in the middle of town, and bought some bread and some milk for going home in. And then I passed by Greg's and bought my mum a raspberry turnover cake. I didn't buy anything for myself. And then walked back. That was about 45 minutes. I did stop off in a charity shop just to see what CDs and DVDs there were. Nothing really special. So I take it that by the time I got there, an hour had gone past. He was just lowering the car off of the ramp, not the ramp, but the elevator, lift type thing. And he reset the things on the computer, because you obviously have a little device that you plug in to say that services and things have been done. He did all that reset. I paid him his money and explained to him that my MOT was in April, and that before then I would be bringing my car down for the air conditioning unit to be serviced, because that hasn't been done in 4.5 years. And it needs refilling, but it also needs a service. So I told him that I'd be in touch about February time, and went away, drove home. Pedal was perfect, absolutely perfect. No stickiness. Gear changing was a little bit better. And I just rested. Then talking to my mum, getting her cups of tea. I made her a shepherd's pie that evening. And the nice fun part of anything was that on Wednesday I do my live chat with Ian Hill, the Ramblings, and we had a great time. I'm still not well enough really to go till 1 o'clock in the morning, so I put a cap on it and said, can we just review it at 11? That's a good 3 hours, 8 till 11, and we might go a little bit longer, but I'm not up to being till 1 o'clock. He agreed. And like I say, we talked about everything. Steve was there. There was a few other people, Cy Robson, all of these standard people. We had a great time. Chatted about TV, films, music, stuff that was bothering us on TV, what we're watching on TV, all that sort of bollocks that we talk about, which is great. Even down to what food we eat while we're watching a film. And so we finished about 11:30. I had a little chat with Ian for about 20 minutes afterwards, and I was in bed by midnight, really. Took my tablets, went to bed, fell asleep quite quickly, probably because of the pain that I was in. I took some cocodamol. Had an okayish night, woke up in the morning, checked my knee. This is Thursday now. And the swollenness had gone down. I took the compress off before I went to bed. Waste of time having it on, really, because that coldness has gone in 3 hours. So by the time I was home, it was by 3 o'clock, it had lost all its coolness. But the bandage was pushing against the swelling. So I kept it on, just as a pressing thing, So Thursday came along and I couldn't go for a walk, obviously. It's too sort of tender is the word. Not painful, but tender. So not a real lot happened on Thursday, to be quite honest. And Friday came along and I was basically, I'm just trying to think what I did on Friday. Played some of my game. I'm playing 2 games at the moment. One called, I think, Murph Wood or something. And another one called Lunar Valley. Oh, and another one called Karate Survivors. Karate Survivors is, by the way, Vampire Survivors, but with Jackie Chan. And it's really good. You're leaping over sort of like shopping sort of like counters, throwing plates, doing sort of like combination punches. That's the rogue-like part of it. So that was really good. So I'm just thinking on Friday, what was I doing? I mean, obviously I listened to the waffle and all of that sort of stuff. I started to prep the blog. And Saturday was a lot more. Oh, that was right. On Friday I checked all the stuff about the Black Friday sale, because it was the Black Friday sale for just about every bloody company out there. And I spoke to my mum and I said, look, you don't like these stains on the carpet, you know, little spillages that have been there. And it'll cost £50 plus to have a bloke out. In the Black Friday sale, I said to my mum, there was a Vax spot cleaner, which is down from 150 quid down to 75. Now that's £25 more than getting a bloke in. And of course the device is ours. Do you think we ought to buy it? And she said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I think it's a good thing, because my sister could borrow it if she needed it. I'd have it. I could use it in the car. I could use it, you know, on the carpet. And it's better than getting a bloke in. And we could do the, also do the sofa and things. So we agreed to buy it. I put 50 quid in. My mum put 25 in. I paid for it on my credit card and it arrived Saturday. The problem with Saturday is that something special was going to happen on Saturday. My friend Jambon was returning from holiday. Well, he went down south to do something. And he was passing very, very close to my town. And he said, do you want to meet up for a coffee? Of course, the Vax device turned up about 11:45, and my friend Jambon sent me a message at 12:05. So it was very, very close. And just before the post office shut, I had to go next door to get my mum her papers, and she wanted a chocolate bar. So I missed the call, but I only missed it by 5 minutes. So I sent the text message, on the way, and I put my coat on really quickly and drove down to where we were agreeing to meet, which was in a car park right behind Iceland. It'd only been there 15 minutes, so we nothing was missed. We went into Weatherspoons, and we thought, well, we'll have a cup of coffee and we'll see whether we want to eat anything or anything like that. And their coffee machine was broken, so I thought, oh, sod this, let's go into town. There's Starbucks, there's Costa, there's Nero, all of that. We had a little chat, and of course Jambon's partner was there as well, lovely lady. And we went into Nero and paid for a couple of coffees. Again, I had a mocha, they had a couple of black coffees. I really ought to drink more black coffee. Never really enjoyed it, always found it a bit strong. But I have had espresso, but that's a very short, small sort of like shot. I've never really been able to drink a huge cup of black coffee. But anyway, we had a chat. He admired my phone. We talked about what was on YouTube this week. He wanted to know a little bit of history on my town's monument. We walked around town and I showed him the remnants of the castle that was destroyed in the 12th, 13th century. The monument was rebuilt in the 15th, 16th century. And he found out that one of the things that the town is famous for is a cake that's named after the town. He said, where can we buy them? Now I knew long time ago where you could buy these. We had a bakery right where my mum has her hair done every Friday, but that closed down a long time ago. But He turned up at just the right time because the town had a Christmas market. And in this Christmas market, they were selling the cakes that they wanted to buy. So he bought 2 lots of them to take to take home with him. I said, I hope you like them. It's a sort of like an unladen cake with currants. I used to eat them but didn't like them very much. I'd much prefer an eclair or a raspberry turnover or an iced finger or something like that. So I said, but at least you've got something from my hometown of a sort, because I live just outside of the town. And we then started to walk towards the car because it was only for a couple of hours. He needed to get home before it gets too dark, and his rest of his journey was about an hour and a half. So it was about 1:45. So 2:45, it would have been about 4:15. It would have been about 4:15. He'd have got home. And I think he made it earlier than that because he sent a text and said, I'm at home and thanks for a lovely day, and showing him around. And that was great. No problem. I told him about a few stories, really, you know, about when I first passed my driving license, that within 3 days, I got my first parking ticket, parking outside where Woolworths would have been. But of course, I could only show him sort of what it was like because the whole of the high street is pedestrianised now. So, you know, I could only show him, look, that's where Woolworths would have been. That's where I would have parked. And I got my parking ticket. And my dad laughed when I got home. He said, bloody hell, you've only just passed your test and you got a parking ticket. How unlucky is that? I was mortified, I remember at the time. So, yeah, that was a fun time. Saturday night comes along and I'm prepping my blog, playing a little bit more on my game, and we reach Sunday. So that's the day. That's where you've got the dark side, where I've damaged my knee. I went to A&E just to prove I did go, look, there's my band to show that I went to A&E. Cold compress was all it was needed. Thank God for that. I have such bad luck. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we've reached the end of my week. I'm finding my week was good. I hope I show that I'm chipper. I'm not bad in any way. I remember on Friday, my manager called me up from work, wanted to know how I was getting on. I told him I was on target to get back to work. We've agreed a phased return. That takes me to the beginning of January, you know, after the Christmas holidays, where I would be back fully working 8 hours a day. He's going to send me an email beginning of next week. I need to put my laptop back on and agree to the terms of coming back. I told him I need no orthopedic chairs or anything. I've already got one, and it's my heart that was the problem, not anything to do with sitting down or anything. All of that is the same as it was before. And I told him again about my concerns, and I just want to be able to go back to work on a level pegging. Now, one other thing he did mention to me, he said of the 2 people that I work with, my 2 analysts, they're both called Andrew. Neither of them got the manager's job. They hired someone and the person didn't take the job. So they're starting the interviews again in January. I said, I will be putting myself forward for that job. So I missed nothing. It will be difficult for me because I will be putting quite a lot of stress on my heart going into an interview situation. But I've got the time now and through December to get myself back up to speed with work and to go in with all of my management knowledge that I've had to go for this job. And that fills me with quite some excitement and some trepidation. But more excitement than anything. And an indication that, yes, you don't need to panic that jobs might be taken while you're away. There is always something that's going to happen. I dare say that the person that they were going to hire, it was money. Bet you it was. They don't pay any money. So we'll see. I've got a lot to think about. If I do get the job and I accept it, it will mean that I'll go into a different tier band for my pay, but I will also be signing a new contract where they will reduce other things. At the moment, I'm protected under the 2P process. So I get 32 days holiday a year. I'm in a certain pay band that they can't touch. When I go for this job, I will be signing a new contract. Instantly, I think my holidays will drop to 24. I'll be in a new band and they'll give me a new pay rise, which means that incrementally I can go up. At the moment, I'm in the top tier of what I can have, which means no more pay rises other than inflation. That's it for me. So there's a lot for me to think about. Do I take the job and lose the holiday and go into the higher band with, other pay increases per year more than inflation? Or do I stay where I'm at doing the same job, which will become quite simple and boring quite quickly, but paid quite highly for the job? You have to start thinking about these things. Anyway, that's stuff for me to worry about later on, not worrying about it now. So let's move on to the bit that I love, the shout-outs. I love the shout-outs. All these people have left a message for me. Goodwill's asked me some questions. Some of them have left messages not in the blog, but in the output of myself this week. So I've done 5 gaming videos this week. All have been absolute fun to do. Some have been rock hard and oh my god, you really want me to suffer videos, but for the most part they've been ones that I've sort of semi-played or hidden gems, sort of, really, for me. If I haven't played it before, it's sort of like a little bit of a hidden gem. Go and watch those if you want. There's 5 of them. Really enjoyable. So the people that I need to shout out to that were in the blog are Gans Teeth, LFC Gamer and Vlogs, Colin Jones aka Ponder, Martroid, Ian Hill The Ramblings, Steve's Gaming, Denny and Weebob Art. Some people that left comments in the games that I'd just like to say as honorary mentions: Down the Rabbit Hole, Pugwall316 and Muckman-Movies. And then my apologies to Muckman-Movies, because he said, if you could ever do a game, can you have a go at doing Geometry Wars 2? I've got a really, really big high score on the PS4. Now, I do have Geometry Wars on my PS4, and I think it works on my PS5. The problem is, I haven't really got a HDMI cable that would stretch across. I'd need like a 15-meter HDMI cable, or move the machine across, and then it'd be moving it back and all sorts of stuff. And I believe I've got Geometry Wars on the PC. I'm not sure if I've got Geometry Wars 2 though. So I've had to tell him, at the moment I'm quite happy to take any challenge on, really, if you leave a little challenge for me. Although it really is my friends requesting. When I say friends, I've got more than 7 friends. It's just that I've gone round the same 7 friends. And I've done a couple of challenges at the end, which is where I could do it. But I'd only be able to do it on the PC, really. And I wouldn't be able to get that high score anyway. It's not that type of video. The video is, hey, would you like to see me play the game? I think Muckman would really like to see me play the game. So I might do that. We're 2 people away now from the end of round 7. Because there are 7 people. I've done 5 this week, so there's about another 2 to do. And then, do I do a round 8? Or do I change it a little bit? Select a few different people, or expand it from beyond the 7 to 10 people? Who are those people would like to be included? For me to do that, they'd need to be on my Discord or Mamemeister's Discord, or a friend of mine on Facebook, for me to actually ask them what game they want me to play. Because the one thing I don't want the games they want me to play in the comments, because it tells everybody then what the game is that I'm going to be coming up to. I want it to be a surprise. In other words, I ask the night before and I record it the day after. Simple as that. That's how it works. So I'm thinking about it. There's still 2.5 or so, I think 2 weeks before I go back to work. It's the 9th of December. What's that then? Yeah, about 2 weeks, I think. And so then things slow down. So we might just keep it as the same format, do a round 8, and that's the end, really. Or I slow it down to the point where I'm doing 1 or 2 after work. So, you know, the nice thing about it is I'm on a phased return, which means that I finish work earlier, so I could still do this, you know. I do everything based on light. I don't have good lighting in regards to where the spotlights and everything are. I've got a little ring light here. It's useless. The light above me can't be moved. It's very much like the light you can see in the background there. They're not angular. They're standard yellow type bulbs. So you get a grainy picture. Do you see what I mean? When it comes to the camera, I need to sort that out. But it's a matter of plugs I can use, where I can place it. I've got 2 monitors here, 2 monitors here, 1 monitor here, and a bay window. Where do you stick the light? It's very difficult. So lots for me to think about. So big thank you to all those people that have left a message. We're going to go down now some of these comments. So these are not in any particular order. And the first one that comes up is Wee Bob Art. Salute, Wee Bob Art. He says, not going to ask a question as I'm probably too late. Well, you weren't, but there we go. Just home from a training course after my flight from Stansted was cancelled on Friday. All this storm you see and weather, yeah. I got home yesterday afternoon. I spent some time with my family yesterday watching Smile and then Smile 2. Seen both of those films, matey, and the prequel to Smile. There is a prequel. Go and look on Google. You will see that there is a short before Smile 2. I was really disappointed with Smile 2, but maybe I will appreciate it on a second watch. Yes, you will. Smile 2 is a little bit too long, I think, if I remember rightly. Smile was a great film. The prequel was, well, obviously so good that they made a bigger film, Smile. So, yeah, I've got those on as steelbooks, matey. I've got Smile, and I've watched that from my steelbook range. I don't think I've watched Smile 2 yet. No, I don't think I have. I only got it about 2 months ago, so I'm a little bit behind. But maybe I'll appreciate it on a second watch. Anyway, all the best to you and your mum. Thank you very much. What a wonderful couple of lines there, and thank you very much. When it comes to my mum, she's much the same. Memory not improving. I have seen her do the crossword now a couple of times this week, which fills me with smiles myself, because she hasn't done those in a while. She's been looking out the window. But I think that the crossword will improve her brain a little bit. So it's nice to see that. So salute, my friend. And we move on to, oh my God, War and Peace Denny, I call him now. War and Peace Denny. Because of how much he writes. So here we go with the essay of Denny. It goes, "Hi mate, so finally I have 7 days off to chill and catch up on jobs that need doing. Be great to finally catch up with yourself on the phone. The constant night shifts have completely worn me out. I'm mentally and physically spent. Yeah, I've missed our phone calls. It's a shame we couldn't talk in the day because I'm around. But I do understand, look, when you're doing like 12-hour shifts like you do, and you've done them over a sustained amount of time, 7, 8 days, whatever it is, you're not thinking about whether making a phone call just to chew the fat with me. Yeah, I totally get it. Interestingly, I heard you mention block booking TV, setting a little time for yourself to catch up on a few films and TV. Yes, I've been doing that. I do this myself every time I have a Saturday off. I literally put that time aside to watch my film and TV collection. Pointless working hard and just leaving them on the shelf to collect dust unwatched. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm guilty. They're wrapped up, whatever. I'll watch digital versions of them and still not open them. And it's because most of them are steelbooks and I need to buy protectors. I need to buy a load more protectors before I go back to work and open them up and check the discs out. So it is something that's on my pile list to do. Great facts from yourself about the Arcadia system. The bridge between the A1000 and the A500 was fascinating to hear about. Yeah, it's just a guess. But what you got to remember is the A500 was in its infancy. The A1000 was now on its way out. They were developing a board, and it's really a hybrid. It does have a daughter board it attaches to, much in the same way of how the games slot in for all of the different games that are in this cabinet, because it's not a one game system. You can have I think up to 10 or 12 games in it. So it's much like the Nintendo 10 play system and the Sega's own Mega Drive Genesis 10 play system, where you put time in. Very much it was like that, only it had an Amiga board in it. You see where the plan came from, really. You continue to say, love the idea of the system, but let's be honest, the hardware was never really going to make any waves in the arcade arena. Been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about Arcadia. Seems to be much corporate interference caused it to fail. Yeah, I mean, it was developed by Mastertronic and headed by America to make the hardware. Most of the games were totally lackluster too. Yeah, leaderboard that you can play at home, 180 darts that you can play at home. It was very much like that. There was a couple of great ones, not great ones, but new ones. There was Xenon. There was which is sort of like a Rampage type game. There was Road Wars, which was the most beautiful looking game as a static picture and an absolute mess when you tried to play it. Absolutely awful. Like a rollerball attacking thing going down a track. It looked lovely. And of course, we all miss Rockford, don't we? Which never came to be. But otherwise, it was leaderboard and crap like that people had been playing on their Commodore 64s for years. So very lackluster. I mean, Christ, I wouldn't have been as surprised if there'd have been a text adventure in there. So yeah, missed opportunity. You carry on. Last scene in Blake 7. My take on it was probably the best way to end it overall. Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that was the best way. It was the question was more about how would I have continued it. Let's be honest, we still speculate and talk about it today. Good points you made on your own interpretation of how things may have progressed. Yeah, which was what the question was, to be quite honest. And I had to think fast. And I do remember interviews with even the producer on the fact that it wasn't written down that there wasn't going to be a fifth season. The fifth season just never happened. It was never renewed. So it was still really open-ended, even though it looked like it was like a Macbeth ending, Shakespearean's Macbeth. So yeah. So you continue. So Steve on Discord mentioned about Patrick Troughton's Doctors episode, The War Games, coming back as a 90-minute film, colorized from the 10-part story. Yeah. I've written down what I think about that. So you put Nope, not for me at all. A pointless exercise, and really just an excuse to make more money out of the fans. The only one thing that piqued my interest was the mention of missing footage. Yeah, so just to give you some history, Doctor Who's final story for Patrick Troughton was 10 episodes long, which is around about 22 to 25 minutes per episode. So do the math, 10 times 22 minutes, right? These people have colorized it. So, I mean, I looked at the still pictures and it looks amazing. Does really look nice. But they've cut the whole thing down to 90 minutes. How the hell do you cut down 222 minutes down to 90? Jesus Christ. And the reason for it, they said, even though I think it's money, the modern audience wouldn't sit down and watch that length of episodes again. Plus, we're not taking away the 10 episodes. The 10 episodes will always be there. That's a cop-out, as far as I'm concerned. I'm dead against the 90-minute version. I don't care whether it's additional to anything. That story is going to make no sense whatsoever as far as I'm concerned. You'll be cutting out some absolute lovely drama moments that were in there. You can't help but not. There was a lot of padding in it. Everybody thought when it came out, 10 episodes, bloody hell. Never been done before, 10 episodes, by the way. I think it would have been better at 8 episodes or 7, which is, there have been 7-episode versions of Doctor Who. I think Inferno was a 7-episode one. Again, there is a lot of padding in these things, but 90 minutes? That's about 3.5 episodes. And 10 episodes is the original. Nah, that's cut down too much. So yeah, that was my opinion of it, matey. So question for this week. All the talk about World War III and tensions in Russia. Name your favourite TV and movie World War III productions. Maybe based in fantasy or reality. Love to see if they align with mine. Christ, that's hard. I mean, we've seen some great TV stuff like Survivors, the Twilight Zone episode of Time Enough at Last. There's another one with Charles Bronson in the first season of Twilight Zone, which is after a big war. Film-wise, I think you've bought one just recently with Ray Milland, which I've watched this week, but I can't remember the title. That was a cracking film, by the way. Wish I could remember it. But you know, most World War III films, they're all deeped in fantasy and dystopian futures. So, you know, Soylent Green, Planet of the Apes, all of those. I'm going to have to come back to that one because I've mentioned the TV ones, you know, Survivors, Time Enough at Last, which I don't think anybody can question the greatness of the storylines and the characterization in those productions. But film-wise, why can't I think of one? No, can't think of one at the moment. But I did watch that one that you bought this week, which was, where was it from? Was it from Eureka Films, was it? Or forgotten? Yeah. Terrible, matey. Sorry, I've really let you down on your question this week. But you put, hope you're feeling stronger day by day, my friend. And your mother is also feeling a little bit better in herself. Chat soon. Yeah, I'm so sorry, my matey. I really, really try hard with you. I'm trying to think desperately now of a film. Oh, there was one that I liked, which starred... Oh, what was it? It was something like The Book of Eli. Denzel Washington. He wanders around the desolate earth trying to get a book to San Fran. Well, we didn't know it was San Francisco through the book, but and he is desperate to get it there because it's the only book in existence left. It's a very important book. In the end, it turned out to be a religious book, but it was still a great film. It was nice to see him listening to his iPod, but running out of battery. Where are you going to get things recharged? All of this was in there. I thought it was a great film that comes to mind. Don't know why that one's come to mind, but it's a good one. So I am going to leave it there. At least I've given something. And we move to Steve's Gaming. And this is what really upsets me about it, is he's having great difficulty in putting in text for him to comment on, but it has actually stuck this time. But he has put third time posting this. Hate it. YouTube, sort this out, will you? Don't get so het up about people putting in words like Trump and president and shithead and stuff. Jesus Christ. I'm still going to read it out. So, hi Del. Great blog as usual. I get the impression that you're looking a little brighter these days. I hope you're truly feeling better and that the pain is going. Yeah, I've took myself off of those cocodamol tablets last Sunday, only putting myself on for one day for my knee. I'm totally off of them. In regards to the extra tablets, I still take my normal painkillers for my sciatica because that hasn't gone away. So I'm just back down to normal and there's no chest pain and I'm doing walking. So thank you very much for asking about that. I also wanted to say you did a superb job on Mamemeister's Nice and Nasty. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as well, matey, and I was so honoured to be asked to do that. It filled me with a bit of anxiety, but I really got into it and I didn't need to worry. It was just two mates talking about things and then talking about the inevitable, what are the free great games and what are the free games that you want to wipe out of existence, like there's been a nuclear war or something. Brilliant it was, but thank you so much for the feedback. I know Mamemeister was happy with me, but I have no idea about figures watched or listened to or any of that sort of stuff. I just hope I did a average job. I put my 100% into it. But I know that I'm nowhere near the standard of him in regards to interviewing. So I learned an awful lot. Anyway. Oh, and I need to add a huge thank you for that lovely Blu-ray gift. You're very naughty. You're very naughty. I'm over 50, man. How can I be naughty? Hang on, where does it say it? You're very naughty and shouldn't spend your money on me, but I was delighted to see what it was, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. Thank you so much, but you're really naughty. So I'm doubly naughty. Bit of background behind this. In the chat on Wednesday, we were talking about Blake 7 and Blu-ray, and I'd seen a message from Steve about he thought the Blu-ray was good, but it really didn't look like the quantum leap in quality that he was expecting. Black Friday came along. And I wasn't going to be buying him something really expensive like UFO or Space 1999. Those box sets are still 60 quid, whichever way you look at them. But in the Black Friday sale, there are lesser titles. And I remember that one of the ones that I had TV-wise that looked really good from memory on Blu-ray, because he hasn't bought a 4K player or anything, he's bought a Blu-ray player, was Captain Scarlet. Because Captain Scarlet was filmed on 35mm film. And they went back to the negative and upscaled those. They have not upscaled the video, which is the important thing to note that's different between Blake 7 and Captain Scarlet. It had 30 odd episodes in this box set. And although I fear Thunderbirds is probably the one I should have got, Captain Scarlet's my favourite. And I thought to myself, how can I give him something that would show off his Blu-ray player more than Blake 7 is? So I chose Captain Scarlet. If he doesn't like it, fair enough. If he does like it, and it does what I think it does, which is show off a little bit more the Blu-ray aspect of things, then it might encourage him, therefore, to save up and get the things that he really, really wants. And it's a Jerry Anderson production, so I don't think I could go wrong. That was it. And it was the Black Friday sale. I ordered it on the Friday. It was with him on Saturday. Bang. There you are. Very, very simple. And everybody knows this. There's no lies or anything going on here. I've done this with many, many friends. I upscale my stuff from DVD to Blu-ray and then from Blu-ray to 4K. And a lot of the stuff that I upscale, if the stuff is on the latest version, in other words, all the extras, I usually give my Blu-rays or DVDs to friends. So now knowing people's addresses more now people trust me a bit more by giving me their addresses. I don't like to ask. That's the thing about me. I usually go really cringe when I say, can you tell me your address, matey? Because the first question people are going to ask is, why? Even though we're friends, it's always going to be a why question in there, right? There's nothing sinister in it other than I've got some stuff that I'm going to chuck out. I could take it down to Kex and get £1.50, but it'll cost me £1.50 in petrol to take it down there. I'd rather give it to somebody that I think would appreciate it. And that's where you have to know people's addresses. And it's very difficult for me to ask. You know what I mean? So, that's probably some of the reasons why I don't get stuff either through the post. I'm sure people want to give me stuff and go, oh, all these people that keep getting sent stuff and you get bugger all. I'm not bothered by it, to be quite honest. I'm self-sustainable. I won't be when my mum's gone. When my mum's gone, it's going to be one of the hardest things in the world for me to do. And I've already said in January, I've got to stop this FOMO and just go for the things that I'm replacing or ones that I really want. Don't get into there's only 2,000 of them. You know what I mean? Let it crap. You got to start thinking about gas bills, electricity bills, savings, buying a house. Yeah. Anyway, that's that rant over with. Anyway, apparently I'm naughty. So here we go. Now let me throw a couple of questions at you. Question 1. Which character in Captain Scarlet Which character in Captain Scarlet is your favourite and why? Mine is Lieutenant Green, because he's always making amusing comments and getting chewed out by Colonel White. That's a good answer, actually, if you think about it. I mean, taking away Captain Scarlet as a character, which I loved, and I like the colour red. I loved Captain Blue because blue was my favourite colour and my football team is blue. Loved Captain Blue. And of course it was voiced over by none other than the guy that was in UFO. I mean, American actor. Bloody hell. Anyway, it'll come to me. So Captain Blue was one of my favourites. But I really, really liked, believe it or not, on equal terms, Colonel White and Captain Black. Captain Black, because he had that menacing, deep voice, scared the shit out of me as a kid. And Colonel White, because he issued out all the commands and he had that fancy chair that swiveled round and he controlled everybody and he was the one that all the weight was on his shoulders to make this work, to get rid of this threat. Plus, of course, I thought he looked pretty cool. Even his hair was white. You know what I mean? Probably because of age. And I looked up to people like my granddad and that, older people. Don't think a lot of people do that these days. But I really I used to love their stories telling me about how they used to go scrumping and all sorts of stuff. I'd listen to that all day long. Oh, tell me that story again on how you're in the trenches, or tell me that story again on how you poached trout out of the river and that, and brought it home to cook for your mum. and all of it. I'll listen to those stories all day long. Loved it. So I'm not giving you very much stuff. Captain Scarlet is my favourite. Captain Blue because of the colour, and of course his accent. Captain Black because of the deep, dark, menacing voice, and of course Colonel White because he controlled absolutely everything, and he had that smart swivel chair and that bloody huge dashboard he's got in front of him. My God. It's amazing how nobody's mentioning the women. I did like the women, Melody and all of that sort of stuff that flew the interceptors. But the vehicle that I really, really, really wanted to drive was the SPV. Oh my God. What a design that SPV is. Not about driving backwards, but it looks like a modern day tank with white rubbers, fires missiles out of it. The car, the door slides out. Oh, it's gorgeous. It had tracks at the back. It moved like shit off a shovel. Brilliant. Anyway, you got another question too for me. I want you to name me 2 Commodore 64 games. One game that you think is very underrated and one game you think is very overrated. Take care, my friend. Love to your mum, and again, thank you so much. My pleasure, and I hope it brings you lots of pleasure. Oh my God, you've made it very difficult for me. I can't think of one game. I can think of loads. You know what I mean? Overrated. Do you know what? I'm going to go back to my youth here now. And one thing that I'm probably going to divide Denny with. He likes text adventures, and a lot of text adventures I played as well. But every time somebody mentions a text adventure, they always turn around and say The Hobbit. Why? Why The Hobbit? Yeah, you got a great big book with it. The packaging was brilliant. The artwork was lovely. But the graphics were nothing to speak of. And the setting was just out of the book, The Hobbit, which is a beloved book. Doesn't make it a fantastic text adventure. Far, far more text adventures out. So overrated, The Hobbit. Gotta be. Most overrated text game I can think of, be quite honest. Definitely I consider overrated. And I bought these games purely for the music, right? So there are lots of games like Thing on a Spring, that's overrated. Sanction, that's overrated. Iridium, to a point, that's overrated. All of those games have got what I consider to be demo routines, like smooth scrolling, a flipping of a ship, a dissolve mechanism, split screen, something, right? With the most simplistic piece of game that you'll have in it. Moving along, shooting something. That's it. So I'm probably being a bit harsh with Iridium because it is a fan favourite. But then again, so are all those other games that I've just mentioned, Sanction and Thing on a Spring. Thing on a Spring was one of the most frustrating bloody games I ever came across in my life. But the tune was absolutely astonishing. And I swear I loaded that up to listen to the tune and played it rarely, if ever. Because I'd scroll along, get to one room, and basically I would be falling off of ladders, getting myself trapped by collapsing platforms. Shit. Absolutely awful. Now, another one that's a demo routine with a game stamped on it is Nebulous. You have a little ribbity creature that's in the center, and you traverse this cylinder going upstairs with creatures that would come in from left or right and knock you down. You needed to get to the top, then you're in a submarine firing at some fission things, repeat it, and then repeat it all at the next one. It's all a demo routine. It had these flashy water effects, ripple effects, the tube effect. But game? What game? next to nothing in it. And the last one, again, because of the music, but overrated, got a Sizzler award and all of these sort of things in magazines. As most of these did, by the way. They got Sizzlers or gold medals. Is Zoids. Love the music, although it's a rip-off of a pop tune that you can get by Synergy, I think it is. But Zoids is just an icon-based game with what you're actually playing with really is a little dot, a little square traversing a cavern with some rockets that sometimes turn up and a little window that would pop up to guide the rocket to hit something. Boring. Absolutely. I just couldn't get into it. Sorry. Overrated. Quite easy. Underrated now. And I'm sorry I didn't name just one, but there's tons that I could go into. Impossible Mission 2 is overrated. Christ. The first one came out, did great guns. Impossible Mission 2 came out, and what? What have we got? More of the same. It's Impossible Mission 1.5 at best. Anyway, underrated. Ranorama comes to mind. By Hewson. Okay, it's not the best in graphics, it's not the best in sound, but the game, really quite addictive. And hardly gets mentioned. I know that it's held in quite high regard on the spectrum. I don't think many people know that there's a Commodore 64 version of it, let alone that, you know, what the game is. A game that I loved back in the day, and this is to put credence back behind Andrew Braybrook, because I took away Uridium from him, was Gribbly's Day Out. Loved Gribbly's Day Out. That bugaboo the flea can off, and you have a nice little frog that has to bring back little creatures back to its ledge. Much better. A nice maze system. It's lovely. Gribbly's Day Out. Hardly anybody talks about it. Hardly anybody plays it. It's never in a stream. Oh. One that will cheer up Mamemeister, and one that I was surprised he even knew about when I first met Mamemeister. You know, not met him, but, you know, watching his stuff. He did a surprise with this game. And I went, I thought I was the only one who ever liked this game. And that was Beam Rider. And I'm going to put a slash next to that and put their Hero. Because those two games, I tell you now, every system I've ever played them on, I've loved. Beam Rider, fantastic. Shoot 'em up with lines and rockets coming at you and all that sort of stuff. Brilliant. You know? Hero, rescuing people trapped in a cave, going down using dynamite, a laser in your head, a little helicopter on your back. Fantastic. Hero obviously is well known. Beam Rider I don't think is that well known. I would say that that's a game that should get far more exposure. And I'm going to put one that's going to surprise people, but I'm going to put it in because of my own opinion, right? And remember, we were talking, it's just Commodore 64. And I'm going to put of the underrated Defender of the Crown, because it was totally masked over by the 16-bit versions, the Amiga, the Atari ST, etc., etc. Yet, Cinemaware had done a multi-disc system on the Commodore 64. And the graphics in that, I'd never seen anything quite like it. When somebody showed them to me, I went, really? They brought out a Commodore 60? Because I'd moved on. And it looks like that. And I said, how does it play? Because, you know, obviously there's not much playability, really. It's really just Risk with a few bolt-on mini-games. Oh, you got the sword fighting, you got the jousting, you got the sword fighting? And then somebody showed it me on a proper Commodore 64. And I went, do you know what? That's about as close as you could possibly get to the Amiga version. And in fact, actually, it's better in certain ways than the Amiga system. The Amiga one will always be my favourite, even though people say that the Atari ST version's better, it's got more gameplay and that. I don't give a shit. It's the one that it's sort of a bit like James Bond. It's the one I played first. I had an Amiga 1000. Nobody out of my friends had an A1000. They all came round my house. We all played Defender of the Crown. And everybody went, wow. You heard the sound in that. Have you looked at the colours and the graphics on that? It was just phenomenal. So I'm going to put as an underrated game Defender of the Crown, because I don't think people talk about it much C64 wise, and I certainly haven't seen it much in streams. You know, oh, we're having a Sunday stream, we're having a Saturday stream, we're having a Friday stream, we're going to play Commodore 64 games. What do we see? Uridium again, Sanction again, Amberlight again, etc, etc. Defender of the Crown, never. You know what I mean? It's like that. Now, maybe it's because it doesn't stream well. It's a bit of a longish game. Don't give a shit. I'd watch it. I think I've redeemed myself with the question for Steve. Salute, my friend, and I hope you like that. And I'm just going to take just a little break just to make my mum a cup of tea and come back. It won't be late because it's getting dark, I tell you. It's still only just reached early afternoon. I tell you now, it's getting really dark. So I'll be back in a moment, and it will seem like seconds to you. Back in a moment. And there we go. I've been gone 5 minutes, made myself a cup of tea, splashed my face. It's been seconds to you. And we continue, and I've just gone past Steve, and salute to you. And I move to Ian Hill, the Ramblings. And he's put, hi, Del Boy. Hope you and your mum are okay and keeping warm. Good to see you enjoying more things, but you were very unlucky in falling over. Yes, because he heard about that on Wednesday when it actually happened. I got worried when I think about that. My late wife fell over a lot and sometimes really hurt herself. I hope the pain does start to ease for you. I know you will be keeping an extra eye on your mum, making sure she is safe and warm. Yes, I am. And it's tender at the moment. I wear jeans and it pushes into my knee a little bit when I sit down because, you know, obviously jeans tighten up as you sit down. Much better when I'm standing up and walking. I'll be doing physio on Monday and doing my walks again next week. No change there. But I'm keeping an eye on it. No more cocodamol for that. It's live with it. I don't know what is, but this cold weather is having a big impact on me. I've got more clothes on now and putting extra blankets over me. I keep putting the heating on, then switching it off because I'm afraid of the cost. I'm dreading these winter bills. My son, I know, will help me out, but I don't like asking him. I can be right old daft git sometimes. I can hear his voice as he's saying this. Snap. And this is what I was talking about earlier. We're all going to have to make decisions. Turn the heating on, put the food or eat. Disgusting. And I'm dead against the Labour's position on this. You continue. Thanks as always for the Wednesday live. It's great just to forget about things in our life and enjoy our time being down the pub. Yeah, because we call it being down the pub. You know what it is going to be. You never know what is going to be discussed, and you learn a lot too. It's great to discover new things. Yes, because I have to say this. Most of the stuff I'm buying now, okay, I can source myself by the Facebook groups I'm in and the internet and so forth. But there's so many people in there, like Muckman-Movies that I've got, Cy Robson, Tony York in particular, that come out and say about films that I haven't heard of. When I look at them, I go, or should I say when I look for them, I find things about them that I want to buy, and I go out and buy them and I watch them, and they're brilliant. I am so in awe of people. There I am thinking I'm a fossil, only knowing about stuff that I've watched, and it's all in the past, and people are talking about stuff that I don't really know about. My education is much better now because of that. You know, these people, brilliant. I've seen some really, he continues, I've seen some really bad films this week, but I'm going to be positive and mention the good ones. A film Now in my favourite films of the year list is Speak No Evil, starring James McAvoy. He is outstanding playing a serial killer in a film that keeps you totally gripped and involved. I love it and will buy it on Blu-ray when it's released in December. I also watched The Eye, a 2002 Japanese film recommended by Jamie of Muckman-Movies. I love this too. Impressed by the story, the acting, the atmosphere and directing. I want to see more and do have another to watch. Yeah. This is where I'm saying, this is what I was saying earlier on, and Muckman-Movies is mentioned again. What a guy. This week I'm going to give you a difficult question. Oh, yeah, here we go. Difficult question. But I know they are a big passion of yours. You have to choose 5 movie soundtracks from your collection to be saved, and all the others will disappear. You bastard! How can I? Oh, okay, 5. 5 soundtracks. I'll tell you what annoys me about soundtracks is if you ever look on the internet and they talk about soundtracks, they always put things like Top Gun soundtrack, Grease soundtrack, Saturday Night Fever. These have all got music that you can buy on the band's albums themselves, just because they're compiled together and are played in the movie does not make it a soundtrack per se. It is, but my form of soundtrack is the score, the purposely made music for that film that is supposed to invoke the emotion, the dread, the fun, whatever it is, and done by a composer for an orchestra or for a band, you know. It's why I like films like Bond, which mix the two up a little bit with a song, and then the rest is the music by, John Barry or someone like that. 5, and I've got to get rid of the rest. Shit. Top is no surprise to anybody, is the word I was looking for. Star Trek The Motion Picture by Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah. I've listened to that time and time and time again, and I just love it. I play it on my phone with my earbuds on when I go for a walk, in my car. I know when I'm listening to the piece of track that's on there, I know what's being discussed in the film. It's brilliant. The next one's hard because it'd be between 2, and it's an Ennio Morricone score, and it would be either The Good, the Bad and the Ugly or Once Upon a Time in the West. But I think I'm going to go with The Good, the Bad and the Ugly just. But as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't take anything away from Once Upon a Time in the West. In fact, that's my favourite Western. And the music is gorgeous. I mean, it's got choir in it. It's got all the remnants of Ennio Morricone and his weird instruments he uses. But The Good, the Bad, the Ugly has got that fantastic piece of music at the end. Where you got Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, and they're all going to shoot each other at the end where they're looking for the gold that's in the unmarked grave, the unnamed grave. But that's a brilliant piece of music. And the next one is equally as hard because there are so many Bernard Herrstein films. But I'm going to go with North by Northwest because it's my favourite film and I love the score in it. But he has done Vertigo, Rear Window, and Vertigo is probably listed as probably the best score done by that composer. But I'm going to go with North by Northwest because I love the theme to that and I do like all of the music in the film. It's just a personal preference. Next one is another Jerry Goldsmith score, Planet of the Apes. A hard one to choose between that and Escape. Escape is much more upbeat, but there's less music in it. There's only 30 minutes of music in Escape from Planet of the Apes. And the reason for it is that there was no money. They went up to Jerry Goldsmith. He agreed to do it. They told him the money that they were going to pay him. And of course, you know, you could only hire an orchestra for so long to do the recording. There's only so much time you can put into it. You're being taken away from other projects that would pay more money. So, but Escape from New York's got a fantastic theme. But Planet of the Apes wins for the whole theme. It's a much longer score, more innovative for the time period. Brilliant. And how can I not choose one by one of my favourite directors? And the film is Lawrence of Arabia by Maurice Jarre. A David Lean film. Fantastic. Every time I listen to that music, I think about sand dunes. It's when a score is made and it makes you think of the actual film, like Star Trek the Motion Picture reminds me of a sailing ship in space. Lawrence of Arabia makes me think nothing more than sand dunes. Brilliant, gorgeous, lovely. Fantastic. But now narrowing that down, and all my other scores are gone. One of my favourite people who do music is Georges Delarue. And he did some great scores: Rich in Love, Interlude, Her Alibi. Oh, such fantastic scores. And I didn't mention one of those, and that means that he's wiped from existence, and that makes me sad. So thanks for making me sad, you bastard. But I've given out some scores. I don't think there's any surprises in there. And, you know, like I say, the composers I've mentioned have done such other fantastic scores. Jerry Goldsmith, I mean, he's been around in my life, and Ennio Morricone for years. Such other scores: Jerry Goldsmith, Medicine Man, Alien, Runaway, Rent-A-Cop, Patton. You know, I mean, just so many. But the Burbs, fantastic score. Medicine Man, did I mention that? Oh yeah, just so many. Thank you for the question, though, you bastard. And if you haven't guessed already, a lot of these people have got their own channel. Please, Ian Hill, The Ramblings, Steve's Gaming, you know, I've mentioned in here, all have got their own channels. Go and have a little look in my description. Have a little look at their channel stuff. Absolutely fantastic. And I do a chat with Ian Hill on Wednesdays, if you're interested. We moved to Gan's Teeth. He's just put a one-line. He's put, great to hear you had a good week and that your recovery is going well. Thank you so much. That's all that's required sometimes of the comments in here, is just to ask how I am and that sort of stuff. Makes me feel wanted and needed. Thank you so much. Salute, my friend. And we moved to LFC Gamer and Vlogs. See what he's put. He's put, hi Del, another brilliant blog as expected. I'm happy to hear things are improving health-wise with not just yourself but your mum. Thank you so much. What a lovely line to start with. Some excellent purchases. I bet it wasn't cheap getting that Blu-ray box set of Frasier, which I'm sure you'll get hours of enjoyment watching those episodes again, even though I know it shouldn't have ended. It should have ended when Niles and Daphne tied the knot. Also, that 4K edition of Blazing Saddles looks astonishing. Sure, the film may have themes that perhaps modern audiences would be disgusted at, but for me, I love the humour. That campfire scene never stops being funny, even after seeing it, or at least 30 times or more. Yeah, can't agree more with that. Just because a film got made in the past where ideals were different doesn't mean you wipe it from existence. Look at it for what it is. Most of the time, if you delve deeper, it's taking the piss at itself rather than at the subject matter. So brilliant as far as I'm concerned. Questions for your next blog. 30 years ago this week, 1994, Donkey Kong Country came out for the SNES. Did it really? Jesus. Did you get the game on release, or was it one you missed out on completely until a bit later? Wrong on both counts, believe it or not. I had a SNES, loved my SNES, but very early on in the SNES existence, I bought what they call a Magidisc or Magicom device, where you stuck a device on top where the cartridge goes in. You plugged in an original cartridge, usually it was Pilot Wings or something like that, and you hooked up a disk drive, and you could download the ROM, and then you could load it back in from disk. So by the time Donkey Kong had come out, Blockbusters and that and other such rental places were renting games out. So Donkey Kong did have a Super Effects chip in it, if I remember rightly, but I already had a Super Effects chip in the fact that I had Star Fox. And I think the way round it was if you put Star Fox in the top and downloaded the ROM and loaded it back in, as long as Star Fox was in the top, it loaded. Sometimes you had to get a patch to make it work, but the games that I couldn't get to play, I bought. The games that I didn't need to pay for, I rented and pirated, really, and played myself. Now, when I talk about piracy, I never sold them. I never went to a supermarket and sold them or anything like that. It was for my own enjoyment. But it was piracy because I was dumping the ROM. So maybe the comeuppance of it all was I did lend it to a friend and he moved away and took my SNES and all of my discs and my copying system with them. So, maybe that's my comeuppance. Sad, but that happened. Number 2, since you're a huge fan of Elton John, I would not be stunned if you had or have the soundtrack to one of Disney's greatest ever films, The Lion King. Every time I hear Circle of Life, I'm instantly taken back to my childhood when I used to have it on VHS. Oh my God, yeah. I've got the 3D version of Lion King. This is the cartoon version. I've got the Lion King on Laserdisc. I've got it on VHS. So many different versions. And of course, yes, I bought it on CD. And I remember going up and down the motorway from my hometown to Manchester on many occasions, and that would be playing on the radio, Circle of Life. Or Can You Feel the Love Tonight is the other one. They played both of those on the radio a lot during that period. So yeah, I have, and I'm an Elton John fan, so of course I bought it. Number 3, I know you're a Coventry through and through, but do you or did you have a favourite European club to watch? ? Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, I was fascinated with Italian football, especially AC Milan, who had proper defenders, with, in my opinion, one of the greatest players in Paolo Maldini. He played his entire club career at the San Siro. That's what you call it. That's what you call loyalty. That's a tricky one. My dad and I would sit down and watch football. And I mostly watched Coventry games, some of the games out of the Premiership, because it was match of the day and all that sort of stuff. All of the World Cup stuff. And when the World Cup stuff on, I was really interested in Brazil and Pelé and all of those old stuff. But when it came to the standard football that was being played in other countries, I rarely followed it, but my dad did. My dad would look at 2 flies racing up a wall and he'd bet on which one was going to get to the top first. Loved racing, loved greyhound racing, loved football, loved cricket. My dad was just everything into sport, boxing as well. And if no normal football, Premiership, Championship, whatever, was on, he would watch the foreign football. And I'd be in there and I'd be going, what are you watching? And he'd be going, oh, I'm just watching this match that's being played in France at the moment. Oh, are you? Who is it? And he'd tell me, and I'd say, who's winning? He'd tell me. And I'd go, oh, is it interesting? Nah, playing like wusses. Oh, right, okay. And then I'd make him a cup of tea and walk out. Really, my dad was the sportsman, and You know, he just loved it. Foreign football, English football, everything. He loved his English football more than anything. Aston Villa through and through, which drove my mum crazy because my mum's Coventry. They went for one of their first dates at a Coventry game. So my dad was a Coventry and Aston Villa supporter, really. And it's how I become a Coventry supporter. So that pretty much answers that question, really. I watched it and listened to it and know a little bit about it, but mostly from European Cup, World Cup, very little from standard football, you know, the Bundesliga and all of that sort of stuff. No, but I was, if you see what I mean. And more so when I moved to Manchester, where I was privileged to be able to go to the Manchester United director's box and watched a few European games there. They were great. Even if I wasn't a huge fan of Manchester United, I had to pretend on the day that I was. You know what I mean? Thank you, salute, my friend. And we move to Colin Jones, aka Ponder. Again, who's got his own channel, as does LFC. Go and watch his blogs. Colin has said, the Nice and Nasty you hosted was a good one, unexpected and a pleasure. Thank you so much. Like I say, it's nice to get some feedback on something that I did for another channel as a favour. Loved it. What else have we got here? We've got, glad to know you're recovering and you've had a chat with your surgeon. Yes, I have. I mentioned that last week. Brilliant. Things do seem to be looking up at last. They are, and I'm looking forward to going back to work with a few trepidations. Good to hear your mother's health has improved, if not her memory. And that's pretty much it. Her health is, I think, a little bit better. Her memory, less so. Don't know what else to say about it. You forgot high karate ads. Yeah, I did, didn't I? Bloody hell. Brute, denim, forgot high karate. Old Spice, yeah. This year's Tesco Christmas ad is actually a Gorillaz song with a rather violent video. Melancholy Hill. Good song and video, but hardly Christmassy. Got to be better than that Boots advert. Spot on with the swearing answer. Every how I feel, exactly how I feel, sorry, on most, though it does fit some songs quite well, especially comedy. Yeah, I forget about that. Monty Python had a lot of swearing. There's some songs with some questionable lyrics. Isn't it awfully nice to have a penis? Isn't it awfully nice to have a dong? It's great to have a stiffy. It's, you know, it goes on and on and on. Yeah, there's some stuff there. I know about the Gadget Show podcast, Channel 5 it was. How could I not, given my current connections? Bloody start telling us about them. No, I must admit it just came out the blue, and I should have known about it. I'm not daring enough to look outside the alerts, so yeah, it just came out the blue for me. Oh, I completed Shadowfire, but I did use a walkthrough. Cheating from Zap64. To say that, I used the map that was in there. Blazing Saddles is so misunderstood by today's generation. It's actually very anti-racial and bloody hilarious. That's what I was saying. Look inside some of these films and you'll see they're taking the piss out of themselves. Not always is it racist. Anyway, question. IPv6. Oh my God, yeah. What are your thoughts on this and the glacial rollout of the technology? Yeah, it is like drawn to a crawl or to a stop. I'm probably going to bore people or going to alienate a lot of people. The IP address range that we currently use at the moment is IPv4, generally. It's where we get the IP address, you know, like 192.168.27.15, something like that, which was explained to me very early on and easy to understand. That when you're talking about local IP addresses, it's mostly to do with the first range is the building, the second one is the floor, the third one is the zone, and the fourth one is the table that you're sitting at. So 192.168.50.15, the 15th machine on zone 50 on floor 168 in building 192, something along those lines. It's a 32-bit system, which means there's 4 billion IP addresses you can get from that, something like that. It means AOL got into all sorts of trouble when the internet came along. They were doing what they call a timeshare system. They gave you an IP address, and because you're in the UK, you probably are not going to be on at the same time as someone in Australia. So when you signed off, they then gave the IP to somebody in Australia. Trouble is, if you then came on at the same time, you'd kick each other off. And everybody was wondering, why have I been kicked off of the internet? Bloody hell, sign back on, and then it would kick that person off. Why have I been kicked off? And you just go round and round and round in circles. We eventually needed to come up with a new method, and IPv6 came in, which is a 128-bit system. Now, it doesn't operate in the same way that IPv4 or the IP range that we recognize. And it has its downsides, because where I can remember a subnetwork mask and an IP range, with that simple numbering system, you ain't going to get that with IPv6. In fact, it's incredibly hard to remember an addressing system. But it's fast, and its packet system is a lot better. But trying to move over a business to use IPv6 and its translation system, costly. I believe we're moving over, or if we haven't done so already, in the Ministry of Justice, but you'll tend to find most of the government and big corporations are using IPv6, but it is slow. And it's because IPv4 is just so flexible, and you can it's just so easy to use. It's almost like, well, I'm familiar with that, so I think we can suffer for another year with it. It's almost like that. So yeah, what my thoughts on it? When we all embrace it, great. There's going to be none of this crap that we got with AOL. Not that happens much anymore. They got fined an awful lot of money when that happened. I haven't heard about that since the early dial-up days. But yeah, IP addresses, 4 billion, do the maths, how many people there are on the planet. It's tricky when you're talking World Wide Web, not so much when you're talking local LAN. Hope that gives you an answer. I hope I haven't got any of that wrong. That's from memory. And remember, I did do networking for the probation service, but we rarely had to do much in regards to IP numbers, because we'd set up a switch. I'll show you a switch one day. I've got one in the garage. And the 7th switch along was is where you plugged in a laptop and you set up all of the restrictions, the certificates on it. And we'd set up a range, of IP addresses for the building. Say there was the building had 120 computers, we'd give it 150 IP addresses. When somebody signed off, the lease would disappear and somebody else would grab the lease. You only fell into trouble if you set the lease to 24 hours. So when somebody logged off at midday, another person couldn't use it until midday the next day. And if that person came back in, they'd get the same lease. We did have to look closely at that and set it to like 2-3 hours or half a day, because we only had so many IPs as well that we could use. So yeah, it does have its restrictions. Brilliant question. I hope I haven't alienated anybody. And the last one, and salute to you, my friend, and please go and look at his vlog and high score stuff. It's brilliant. We get to Martroid, who says, I was impressed to hear that you're a fan of Alan Parsons, Del. I'm a bit of a devotee myself, especially those amazing instrumental tracks such as I, Robot and Sirius. So brilliant. Yeah. And of course, he went on Some of the Alan Parsons team moved on and did things like Ladyhawke as a film score. Go and listen to that, Ladyhawke. Brilliant score. And that finishes off the shout-outs. So we're near it towards the end. We're going to get now to the watched on YouTube and some of my friend stuff. This usually goes by quite so quickly. So watched on YouTube. You know, there are two that I watch religiously this week in Retro and Tech Moan. I watched those a bit later this week because I saw my friend Jambon, as I mentioned earlier on. But they did War Recrafted, Raising the Bar After 20 Years, and the 40-year-old Dragon Slayer. They were all great and stuff, but the Raising of the Bar After 20 Years was about Half-Life, which I reported on earlier in the week. It's brilliant that it's out there. I'm going to download it again. If you don't go until, I think you've got until the 2nd of December if you haven't bought it. How you haven't bought it, if you've got a Steam system, I don't know. Because Steam really started with Half-Life 2. Or was pretty bloody close to it. And it's been on sale for God knows how many times through the years. So this week in Retro is great. Techmo did a stereo with a twist, the Akai PJ11. Yes, an early 80s cassette player with detachable speakers, but when you attached them, they actually rotated round 45 degrees. Brilliant little system. I'd have definitely have liked that as a teenager in my collection. Absolutely brilliant. So those are the two religious ones I watch. Other ones I watch, Chronologically Gaming, which Denny put me back onto. I watch that now every day. I wish I could be on his live when he's doing it, but of course that's 3 in the morning for me, so I can't do that. But he's had this week two people come on to talk about the launch of the Atari 5200 and the person who designed E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark for the Atari VCS system. So you can imagine E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark are two games that are synonymous, especially E.T. listed as being the worst game ever designed, which it isn't. The actual programmer was there explaining the coding method and watching the host play the game while they were discussing how about the game. Absolutely fantastic. Early on this week, I had the pleasure to go to a site called Otoy, because they've brought out another of their little Star Trek mini movies. And this one is called 765874 Unification. So that's 765874-Unification. And this is a little 10-minute short done with the total okayance of the Gene Roddenberry Foundation, William Shatner, Robin Givens, the Leonard Nimoy estate, etc., to use AI to make a film based on a small little story. And in this story, it was Spock visiting Kirk's grave very early on at the end of Generations, and then Spock himself on his is dying. Kirk comes back in 3 forms, back as himself as he was in the TV series, back as he was when he died in Generations, and as he was in Wrath of Khan, I think it was. And they used computer-generated de-aging technology with William Shatner's help, and with him walking through grass and all that sort of stuff. That's actually him. When you see the body of him, it's him. When you see the face, it's de-aged, with some work done on his stomach and stuff for the earlier part of himself, dressed up in Starfleet uniform from the 60s. Absolutely brilliant. It's a very emotional scene. No talking in it at all. It's all silent, with a lovely piece of music going on in the background, and with Kirk and Nimoy, Spock, sort of like in silent form about life and death. Brilliant it is. And straight afterwards, there is a in conversation with William Shatner talking about why he's not been brought back as Kirk as often as people would like him to. And most of it is because, well, there isn't a story that makes sense. And I have to agree with him, there isn't. The thing is that Shatner is now in his 90s. I would love it if he just went into a recording studio for a week and just spoke random words, words out of a dictionary, the alphabet, A, B, C, the numbers 1, 2, 3, up to whatever you need. Because when he dies, I would not be upset with him using his voice in cartoons. I don't want it in film, but in cartoons. You could continue the Star Trek as I knew it in the 60s. With his voice, his actual voice being used. Leonard Nimoy's gone. Scott is gone. Nichelle Nichols is gone. These people, they're dying. And we can't use their voice anymore. They are now gone out of it. And it's now harder and harder to do anything in the past. And we all feel a bit shortchanged when Star Trek only did 3 seasons and then did 2 seasons of a cartoon to make up the 5-year mission. That's it. That's all we've got. The rest is what you see in the films, and that's it. Little odd episodes. One where they've superimposed real people into old footage, like they do in Forrest Gump. Not the same. Anyway, that was brilliant. Otoy, definitely watched that. Then there's RMC, which I've talked about before in This Week in Retro. He's talking about old arcade cabs made into new cabs. He's been doing Bomb Jack and a few others. He did Ghosts and Goblins, which I was happy that he'd done. That was a brilliant documentary type thing on how to do it, how it was done, and so forth. The new retro show, I watched that because he's doing a series of new Vic-20 games. He's up to episode 24 and 25. Always nice to see Vic-20 get a bit of love. And these are new games. Movie Collector did a little snippet of Aliens on 35mm versus the 4K edition. Very interesting to watch that. They talked about how also the 4K player that you're using is going to have a major difference, plus the telly that you use in regards to what picture quality you're going to get out. Then there's Commodore Computer Museum has done a review of retro games Spectrum, which has just come out. I think it came out Friday, and it done a first impressions. And it was interesting that this weekend I found out that an old channel that I used to watch a lot called Bazza H, he's back after 18 months. And has also done his first impressions of the Spectrum. I think a lot of my friends that have ordered it will be getting theirs. I think Colin Jones said he was going to be getting a Spectrum. I think there's plenty of them, but it'd be nice to see his impressions of it. And then there's a channel called Talk TV, and that came up because of my hatred of this Boots advert. There's a Kevin O'Sullivan who's a comedian, and he slammed how woke this advert is. And to be quite honest, it's hilarious. It really is poor. I do not want to feel bad that I am a white male. Right? I know what's happened in the past. I'm emotional about it. But don't make me feel bad that I was born a male and white in this country. And this is what goes on every time I watch an advert like the Boots advert. It's just atrocious. Some of my friends and what they've done. I did watch something from Euphoria Pictures this week. He was doing a Blazing Saddles unboxing. My Blazing Saddles arrived slightly later than his, so it was nice to see a friend open that up so I can see what to expect. I haven't watched much. He's not done a what to buy over the next couple of months and a little insight, but maybe that'll be coming up in December. So that's great. It's always a pleasure to watch Keith's stuff on Euphoria. He's such a nice guy, and he does such superlative videos. That they're such a high quality is what I'm trying to say. Definitely worth a look at, worth your time. Then Ian Hill, The Ramblings, as you know, I do a weekly chat with him. My God, his output. Right, here we go. Top 5 horrors between 2008 and 2015. McVicker DVD review. Doctor Who Planet of the Spiders review. Blake 7 and Others unboxing, because he had some stuff turn up this week. X-Files Season 2, Episode 23. Ransom DVD review. And he did a live with me on Wednesday. My God, man. I said it in the channel when I showed off my pad. You either want me to run out of ink, or you just want me to suffer with reading out everything you do. It takes up that much space on my pad every week to read out what you do. But I tell you what, every single video is a highlight of mine. I watch those, they're brilliant. My other friend, Pete, Playtendoguy, he's coming back to do his chats very, very shortly. He's actually messaged me. But this week he's done a Red 1 and a Gladiator 2 shorts, little shorts video on YouTube, explaining his reaction to going to the pictures and seeing those. And I'm sure there's going to be one for Wicked, which he saw this weekend, which is why there was no chat again this weekend. That'll be coming back. And I'll be, hopefully there. Don't know just yet, but probably. And then, of course, Mondo Chelloveck Movies. A lovely guy. I've only ever spoken to him over text. We're not over phone or anything like that. But he's always very gracious with his answers. He is royalty. I am not worthy when it comes to horrors. He's given an update on his health because... he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Is that what it's called? I can imagine what that meant to him and how scary that was for him and how he just pushes it to one side and just gets on with things. I wish I could have done that with my heart. It just goes to show you how some people can deal with it and others can't. He does have a wife and I think kids. He has got a friend background that enables him to probably have more positiveness pushed his way. I've just got my mum. So it's nice that I've got all you guys out there to help me when I've had my problems. Salute, my friend. What can I say? He did a health update and a Day of the Beast retrospective. He bought a film from 88 Films, I think. Day of the Beast, and said whether he recommended it or not, plus a few others and some slip covers and all sorts of stuff. Definitely worth a watch. My mate Jim Jam Movies keeps on moving on. He's done some gift unboxings and some pickups, and it's his birthday this weekend, so many happy returns to you, matey. I hope you got everything that you could ever want. Through the Lens is back, and he's done some reviews on Gladiator 2 and Red 1, just like my mate Pete. Definitely worth a watch. I'm seeing Gladiator 2 hopefully Tuesday. Monday I'm at physio, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Definitely Through the Lens. Josh, brilliant guy. Definitely a different take on reviewing films. And Did You See That? Did a Batman Unmasked exhibition review. He showed off all of the stuff that was going on at the exhibition. Absolutely wonderful. And he's done some chit chats and some reviews as well. Did you see that? Always a joy to watch his videos as well. And we're up towards the end now, and it's your YouTube. That's people that are in my Discord, in Mamemeister's Discord, who was around before I started doing stuff for films on my channel. So we start off with Down the Rabbit Hole. He did New Wave Toys Ghosts and Goblins review. He bought a little mini cabinet, did a little retrospective of it. Very interested. I'm dead jealous. It's the one that I would have bought. It's just too expensive. I couldn't afford it. And then about memorabilia that you buy for the game No Man's Sky, which is one of his favourite games. He's bought a fan that's in the shape of the mouldings that's in this. Just bear with me because my mother wants to speak to me. Sorry, and we're back because my mum wanted to know what I might like for dinner, for which she's forgotten I cook her dinner. So what can you do? So I was talking about my friend Down the Rabbit Hole, and he did He talked about a fan that you can buy in the shape and mold of something that's seen in No Man's Sky. That was interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of things, isn't there, in games and stuff that we could buy and we just don't. So that was all very interesting. Robert's Retro Gaming. Oh my God, here we go. Here's the readout from the royalty that is Canada and Atari 8-bit. And Atari full stop. Right, here we go. He's done No Man's Sky episodes 5 to 8. Almost in tandem with what Down the Rabbit Hole's doing. Atari 8-bit games that he's played this week. Haunted Hill, Shogarth, Caverns of Ereban, International Karate, Milk Race, Tale of Dragons and Cavemen, Moon Patrol, and one I can't really pronounce, I think it's Canadian French, Posinet. That's a lot of 8-bit games. And his No Man's Sky series is obviously longer. It's like 40 minutes plus for No Man's Sky to show you progress in that game. Just wonderful. I look forward to Robert. Every time I wake up, there's a new video for me to watch because he does he launches for American time. So UK time, it's already out by about 4 hours. So it's great. Steve's Gaming. He's in pain at the moment, and it's amazing that he's doing anything for us. And so with that, I have to tuft my hat and go, salute, my friend. You've done absolute wonders here getting this stuff out. It's one less than me that I've done all week. Bloody hell. You've done Foundry episode 29. Ghoul's Revenge on the BBC. Homesoft Disc 21. And a selection of Wonder Swan games. My God, man. And you're in pain. Thank you so much for doing that for us. Absolutely wonderful. You're still a git, you little bastard. I have to do my salute to you, you little fucking bastard. Wonderful guy. Almost like a brother to me. Thank you so much, my friend. Then we've got 20th Century Gaming. He did a game called Mediator on the Commodore 64. He wanted to show off all the levels because he's completed the game, because YouTube doesn't seem to have them all recorded. So that was nice. I watched a lot of it. I got so interested in the game that I thought I can't watch much more because I want to play the game now. Yeah. But it's one that I can hold back on. So I might watch the end actually by the end of today because it's a good game, but it looked complicated. So I'm not quite sure whether I would play it or not. That's why I'm thinking I might watch it to the end. Then we got Colin Jones, aka Ponder, who did his blog, because he does his blog every 3 weeks, which is why you don't sometimes hear me turn around and mention his blog. But when he does it, brilliant. Always a riveting listen. And then he's done his high score challenge. He's done everything C64 challenge, which is Sky Shark. And then he's done his Mamemeister challenge, which is the arcade game Mercs. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And lastly, hope I haven't missed anybody, Mamemeister, who did a Friday waffle, a Sunday live stream last week. I don't know if he's doing one today or not, but he did one last week, and it was between Amiga and the Genesis or Mega Drive, whichever way you want to call it. If there was a game on both of them and it was the same game, he wanted to show off the difference between the two. Typical example, Alien 3 was on both systems. Battle Squadron was on both systems. So there's just a couple of examples. Which one was better, the Amiga one or the or the Mega Drive version? And he did an 8-bit kerfuffle on a game called Confusion, which is weird because it's the first game that I heard of Rob Hubbard. And I don't think there was an earlier one that I heard of. And of course, the side B of that C64 tape had the band version of the tune that's played in the game. And I played that to death. Thought it was brilliant. I even know the words. That's the end of the written part of the blog. Thank you so much for listening to that. And all I can say to you is, oh my God, has there been quite a lot of stuff delivered to me. I'll try and do it with the overhead cam. There we go. It's probably going to be a bit grainy because I've zoomed it in a lot, but there's the Steelbook of the Crow. Not a great film that came out this year. There's the back of it. But But it goes with the original Crow, which had Brandon Lee in it, which everybody I think knows about. My second box set of Columbo's now turned up, so I've got all of them now in Blu-ray. This is the final years, so basically it's two sort of like sets, almost as much as the first one was, even though that's a bigger collection. Hate it when they do that, you know. Charge you virtually the same, but you got more in the first one. Weird. This I'm so excited about. I ordered this a year ago when it was first announced, and that is North by Northwest, the 4K edition, steelbook in a deluxe set. You can't see, but that's a sort of like a lenticular look. It just about moves. And if you turn it round, you've got the back of the box and what you get inside it. Really, really looking forward to opening that up. I might watch that this afternoon. Then we've got the story of the Terminator, which I think I mentioned last week. This I got from the Scalpers. I'm so glad I got it. I don't mind showing it again. It is a lovely steel book. I'm glad I got that. Another one that's taken a year. Watership Down. Loved this as a kid. Made me cry. Trying to get it in shot there. There we go. Again, from the BFI, which do fantastic restorations. A lot of special features in this. I'm just so glad it's in my hands finally at last. It took a year. This is just going over the top now, but this is the Steelbook of Star Trek The Motion Picture, the 4K edition. I've got so many versions of this, but my deluxe version isn't a Steelbook, so I bought it. It comes with a catalogue, a little booklet, so it's worth having anyway. It's from America. It's the only place you can get it at the moment, so I'm glad to have it because it is one of my favourite films. I don't even remember ordering this. It's a film called Juggernaut. It says the greatest sea adventure in history has just begun. And when I look at the back, I can sort of like see why I ordered it, because it's got Richard Harris in it, Omar Sharif, David Hemmings, Anthony Hopkins. It's a Richard Lester film. He's done a load of good films. So it's going to be a great film. I just don't remember ordering it. It came through and I went, did I order that? No idea. Then this one I can blame on Muckman-Movies, The Seven Samurai. We were talking about the Magnificent Seven in Ian Hill's chat a couple of weeks ago. I said that I just ordered the Steelbook. As soon as the stream finished, I ordered the Seven Samurai. It was coming out from BFI, so I knew that the transfer was going to be good. And it's a Steelbook. It's a 3-hour film, all in Japanese, I believe, or Korean. I'm not sure which. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's where the Magnificent Seven came from. Then there's the deluxe edition of Oppenheimer, the inventor of the atom bomb, which did so well a year or so ago. I bought 2 steelbooks of this last year. I can now get rid of one. It'll go to a friend. Probably send it to one of my friends because it'll be the exact same steelbook that's in here. That's what I like about upgrading to the more deluxe versions, because I get the same edition, but I get to give my old one away to a friend. So I'm not sad about having that. And then we've got 2 of my favourite comedians when they do films together, Pryor and Wilder. Richard Pryor, brilliant. It's only got 3 of their films: Stir Crazy, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Another You. Everyone is indicated to this, and it's by indicator, by the way. There should have been more. I agree. It still looks quite nice. It's got loads of special features. My God, I don't know if you can freeze that and look and see what's on there. It's not expensive. It's a limited edition look. You can see that there are 6,000 of these made. Mine is number 2,388. But like I say, really quite happy to have that in my collection. And the last thing was an omnibus came through. I mentioned it, I think, last week. And it's the omnibus of the Fantastic Four. There we go. Huge tomb, like I say, that you can see. It is on the spine. The people that were involved in this are Thomas, Conway, John Buscema and Buckler. That's Roy Thomas. There's all the comic book covers that this book one covers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 7 plus a special. So yeah, lots there, isn't there? Over, what's that? 126 to 163 is the issues. So yeah, 30 odd issues in there. Brilliant. Marvellous. And we move just quickly back to the camera because I now need to set up the trailers, which is the end of the blog. Very difficult this week because if you look at any of those films that I saw there, they all have memorable music that was in the charts, like Watership Down. And it's very difficult there to find a trailer that doesn't have Bright Eyes in it or something like that that would instantly get me a copyright strike. If any of these are blanked with sound or this blog comes out later, you understand why. It's because I've got to re-edit it with taking the sound out. But hopefully they're going to be nice to me and let these ones go through. It's just a couple of trailers this week. We'll move to media playback then. There we go. And we'll start playing some of the trailers. I'll turn my microphone off. I hope you enjoy them.
Yes, who is this?
My name is Juggernaut. 7 explosive devices have been placed aboard your vessel, the Britannic. I have the information that will render the bombs harmless.
The ship has encountered very bad weather. There is no way that the passengers can be taken off. How do we defuse the bombs?
An explosives ordnance disposal team under Lieutenant Commander Anthony Fallon will be on its way to the Britannic in just a few minutes' time. They're under orders to immediately defuse Juggernaut's devices.
This is in my ship.
It's my ship now, Captain.
There are 7 bombs. How do you know he built them all the same?
If he didn't, you will be one of the first to know. You're a clever man, Juggernaut. Rightful contender.
Will you please clarify your company's intentions in this matter? Your course of action?
We intend to wait for Juggernaut's call, note his instructions, and pay the ransom. No.
It's 1,200 passengers and crew. Do you know a bigger game than that?
Back to square one, gentlemen. Another booby trap.
Fallon is the champion.
I'm an advertising man, not a red herring. I've got a job, a secretary, a mother, 2 ex-wives, and several bartenders dependent upon me. And I don't intend to disappoint them all by getting myself slightly killed.
Cary Grant becomes a secret agent against his will. Propelled at gunpoint onto the highest level of international intrigue and framed for murder. Cary Grant, running for his life, searching for a man who doesn't exist, and a secret nobody knows, and finding a blonde who has all the answers.
Hello there.
Tell me, why are you so good to me?
Shall I climb up and tell you why?
At breakneck speed, they race together toward the excitement that lies dead ahead, north by northwest.
How do I know you aren't a murderer?
You don't.
Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint, and James Mason as the man of sinister surprises.
Apparently, the only performance that'll satisfy you is when I play dead.
In your very next role, you'll be quite convincing, I assure you.
The perfect setup for suspense. With the perfect woman and the perfect crime, as Alfred Hitchcock takes you north by northwest.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
You're dead, honey.
What day is it? The date!
12th May, Thursday.
What year? I'm here to help you. I'm Reese, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
Why does it want me? Why me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.
He says there's a bad danger coming to our warren.
A bad danger?
I've got a little plan. Just follow me closely. We must go on until we reach the hills.
You're all under arrest. Spreading dissension. Inciting to mutiny.
Go, now, or we'll kill you.
Hand over all the deserters immediately.
We shouldn't be fighting each other.
Our warren destroyed.
There's nowhere left to run.
Come on and try, you crack-brained slave driver.
We're not finished yet. Not by a long shot.
We all got into this together. We'll all get out of it together.
I know what we ought to be looking for. A high, lonely place where we can see and hear all around. I'm from a warren where life is free, where you can live as you wish.
It's some kind of a bird.
We help you.
You stupid bunny!
Perhaps we should be together, adjoining the free, independent warrens.
We can escape from Ephrata, believe me.
All the world will be your enemy. Prince with 1,000 enemies. Be cunning, and your people will never be destroyed.
You can see the whole world!
He said...
There we go. Took me a bloody long time, I can tell you, to find a trailer that didn't have Bright Eyes in it. But Watership Down, one from my childhood, one that is pretty scary for kids. And I lived on a farm, so I was well aware of hares and myxomatosis and trappings and, you know, ferrets putting down rabbit burrows and so forth, hare burrows, you know, because they do a lot of damage to farms. But, you know, I watched it and I was still upset about the deaths that are in this film. Just crossing a road, just how difficult it is for an animal. Yeah, brilliant. And I'm so glad that's in my collection. There's a big background to my history with that film, as there is with North by Northwest and all that. Even the Terminator, you know, I mean, when I saw the Terminator, I loved it. Then when I read up about it, I found out that it was based around an Outer Limits, from a black and white Outer Limits episode called Soldier, the first episode of season 2, and that the writer of that particular episode sued James Cameron when the Terminator came out. All sorts of history in the Terminator. So yeah, Juggernaut, just don't know where that came from, but after looking at that trailer, I want to see it. So with all of that, that's the end of this blog. Hope you've enjoyed it. Getting very, very close to me going back to work. More game stuff will be coming out. Some more video capsules. Hope to do about 2 before I go back to work. So over the next 2 weeks, hopefully I'll do another couple of film capsules. I'm really, really just working through my problems and living life and smiling. Hope I look a lot more chipper. And I'll pass on everything to my mum. And with that, I'm going to say salute. I'm going to shut up for once. And thank you very much for watching. Till next week. Bye-bye.